Welcome to the Electric Wire Podcast. We bring you news and views on the most pressing issues facing Wisconsin's electric industry, from policymakers, executives, and customer and environmental advocates. Bringing you these discussions, we are the Customers First Coalition. Here's your host, Executive Director Kristin Gilkes.
Welcome, everybody, to the Electric Wire Podcast. I am Kristin Gilkes, and I am joined today by Matthew Spencer of Madison Gas and Electric. Welcome back, Spence.
Hey, Kristin. Thanks for having me again. I am always happy to be a participant and guest on your program.
Well, thank you for joining. And today we have a unique episode. We are previewing an upcoming event happening on Tuesday, May 3rd. The Customers First Coalition is hosting a Power Dialogue event. I know many listeners are familiar with our Power Breakfast events, but we're doing a Power Dialogue, and this time we're doing it in the afternoon in Madison. And we are going to host a discussion among policymakers, industry experts, legislators, regulators, the administration. We're going to be talking about electric vehicle policies. I was thinking as I was driving in this morning, there are organizations that will talk about the technology associated with electric vehicles. There are organizations that will talk about the environmental benefits. Customers First, our focus has always been on regulatory policy issues, and that's what we're going to be looking at for this event. And we are going to sort of dip our toe into the transportation space more than we usually do. Usually we're talking about electric vehicles as they relate to utility regulatory policy, which we can get into a little bit more later. But in this event, we're going to be talking about transportation policy too, which is why I am absolutely delighted with the lineup that we've got. And I will get into that in just a few minutes. But Spence, I just wanted to give you a chance to say hi and talk about what you've been working on and what you're looking forward to at this event.
Well, I appreciate what you have set up here, and the panel does look pretty interesting. Like you just said, it's a multifaceted approach to this thing. It's not just are we going to have enough? Is there enough reliability on the grid as these cars come on the road? It's, what happens with the transportation budget? What happens with infrastructure? Is it going, in Madison, obviously, we have a large per capita electric vehicle, I don't want to say subscribership, but ownership. And what happens, in rural areas of Wisconsin and rural parts of the country? Like, is it a chicken and the egg? Do we need infrastructure there before people start buying the cars in rural Wisconsin? But in our service territory, we've kind of taken an approach of what do our customers want. We recently constructed a charging hub downtown Madison. There's 8 Tesla superchargers, 8 DC fast chargers for fleet vehicles, apartment dwellers, basically anyone that's moving around downtown. But it's moving quickly, and as I'm sure you guys will hear at the event next Tuesday, sometimes can be kind of complicated on what the state actually needs to do. Is it going to happen organically, or is it going to be something that needs a legislative fix? So
right, I'm
interested to hear.
I know, and that's kind of one of the questions I have coming out of it. It's like, are there state policy or state statutory or regulatory changes needed to facilitate what people are saying is this influx of electric vehicles that are coming, or is the status quo really all that's needed? Unfortunately, in some cases, I think that changes will be needed. There's a huge discussion right now about how electric vehicles and very fuel efficient vehicles pay into the transportation fund for the state. Currently, the transportation fund is funded by the gas tax, which even with extremely fuel efficient vehicles, if you're using less gas, the state is getting less revenue, even though the vehicles are using the roads. So a couple budget cycles ago, the state implemented a $100 surcharge on electric vehicle and some hybrid vehicle drivers in order to help them start paying in for the roads. The problem from some EV drivers' perspectives is that seems like sort of an arbitrary fee Some people drive a lot less than, what they're getting charged for, and some people drive a lot more. In my case, I've been driving a Nissan Leaf with a battery range of about 107 to 123 miles. I drive it, as many of our listeners know, I drive it from one of the suburbs of Madison down to Madison every day, but that's about it. So it would be interesting to compare my use of the roads with somebody who's driving a gasoline equivalent and driving the same number of miles, and see how much we're each paying in for the use of the roads. I'm willing to bet that I'm paying in more because I have an electric vehicle, but there's questions about what are the weight of the batteries, and just a lot of questions about the fairness of how people should be paying in for the roads.
Right.
So that's one of the questions we're going to address at this event. And that's why I'm really excited. We have Secretary Craig Thompson from the Wisconsin Department of Transportation. We have Steve Boss, who is the executive director of the Wisconsin Transportation Builders Association. We have Josh Fisher, who is the director of state affairs at the Alliance for Automotive Innovation. They represent the manufacturers, the auto manufacturers, and have a really unique perspective on electric vehicles. Deb Irwin is going to be joining. She is the director of policy and program planning for clean transportation at Xcel Energy. And we also have Kathy Kuntz on our panel. She is the director of the Dane County Office of Energy and Climate Change. She is also a fellow Nissan Leaf driver, and we have shared notes through the years on what, if we ruled the world, what we would do. And don't worry, listeners, we will be asking the all the power question of panelists at this event. So you should be sure to come in person if you can, or also tune in via Wisconsin Eye to watch live on Tuesday. We're going to put a link in the show notes to how you can watch the event live on Tuesday. And we're also going to be giving you a bonus episode in May, which will be recapping the event. Okay, and there's two other really special guests I wanted to mention. Providing opening remarks at our event, we have Senator Julian Bradley, who is the chairman of the Senate Committee on Utilities, Technology, and Telecommunications. And providing closing remarks to recap the event at the end, we will have Commissioner Tyler Huebner of the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin. For anybody who wants to come meet all these awesome guests and speakers in person and network with all of the attendees, we've got over 60 people signed up so far. You can register at the Customers First Coalition website, customersfirst.org/events, or we'll put a link in the show notes right to the Eventbrite registration, so you can register there as well. We would love to see many of you there, and I look forward to hearing from people in person what you would do with all the power as well.
I mean, it's good that we're actually back. I mean, I'm so sick of saying this now, because at first it was like, hope you're doing okay at home, but now it's like, I'm so glad we're back. And it's like, no, we're back. This is the new normal again.
Yeah,
we're back to the old normal, which is good.
It is good to see people in person, and it'll be fun to just catch up with people who, you haven't seen in 2 years since the pandemic started too. Right. So
I think one of the things that I'm looking forward to hearing about is, in the bipartisan infrastructure law that was signed into law at the end of 2021, Wisconsin is going to be getting about $78 million to spend over 5 years on infrastructure, primarily for electric vehicles. And I know the Department of Transportation is working on a plan to use those dollars to submit to the federal government. So it's just like, as a utility, what can we do? I'm sure there might be external stakeholders that are looking to get involved. What can they do? And what can the state do to get these dollars out the door as fast as possible, to partner with private companies to build these infrastructure across the state? As a utility, we ask the questions like, so what do you need from us? How can we help? And then what's the role of local governments? What's the role of fueling stations? And how quickly can fueling stations that sell gasoline also install chargers for electric vehicle owners? You see legacy auto manufacturers moving more and more to electric vehicles. And I'm not sure if you're in the market for an electric vehicle right now, but if you go and try to buy one, you can't find a whole lot of them. They are just flying off the shelves.
I think I think you're scaring people, Spence. I think you can find them. You just need to go look.
No, I know you can, but it's just like, it's like most things, it's a hot commodity right now. And that's a good thing. I
Yes.
mean,
Yes, they are. And they're really surprisingly affordable. For the past like 5 years, everyone was talking about how expensive they are. And, I was telling somebody recently, go on the website. If you're in the market for a Ford F-150, go on the website and compare the cost of a traditional gasoline-fired F-150 to the cost of the new Ford F-150 Lightning, which just started production this week. And the Ford F-150 Lightning, which is all electric, starts at $40,000. It goes up from there, but I mean, it's a pretty good deal if you ask me. One other thing I wanted to mention, if you're a real nerd about energy issues and you want to go back and listen to some of the podcasts we've done on electric vehicles, we have our EV road trip episode from February of 2020. We had Debbie Branson from MG&E. Shout out to Debbie for all of her help through the years. She's been an awesome asset, really, just to help people understand how utilities are working with EV drivers in Madison to facilitate this transition. And then we also did a podcast in August of 2021 on the electric wire. We called it a lucid discussion on electric vehicles with Daniel Witt of Lucid Motors. They are in the process of really revolutionizing the batteries that go in electric vehicles and finding uses for batteries after their useful life in an electric vehicle. So I thought that was a really important discussion to have as well. I know we get a lot of questions about, what happens with the batteries after the useful life of the vehicle. So those are two things you could do to prepare yourself mentally for Tuesday's event. And I mean, I know I'm probably going to be doing that this weekend. How about you, Spence?
well, I am.
You weren't on either of those, so you don't even care.
No, I did, but when we did a recap episode, I did say that the Lucid one was my favorite one to listen to because
That's right.
I mean, if you haven't driven an electric vehicle, I would say try to get yourself an electric vehicle and just try driving it. I mean, I think there's this notion that they're just like big golf carts, but they are not that. It's literally one of the coolest things to sit in there and pedal to the floor and you just go.
Yeah, you can go fast, pretty quick.
Yeah.
The control is really
fast,
good. The torque is really good.
Yeah. But the technology is advancing. The cars are all getting, I think maybe 5-10 years ago, it was, a view on like, let's clean up the earth and take care of our carbon footprint, which is still an important thing to do. But I think the driving force behind a lot of these cars now is they're economical and they're cool.
Yes.
So I recommend going back and listening to that Lucid Conversation episode. But yeah, not just the vehicles. If you go back and look over the last legislative sessions over the past, 3 sessions, it was maybe 6 years ago, there was maybe one bill that related to electric vehicles in the state. And you look at it this past session, there was at least 4 or 5 bills that related, or budget proposals that related directly to electric vehicles in Wisconsin and advancing the technologies and making the state a little bit more possibly consumer friendly. But yeah, it's an interesting time, and it's, as you mentioned earlier, does this need state help? Does it need help from the legislature or the regulators, or is it just going to happen on its own?
I'm going to share a couple of the questions I'm planning to ask our panelists at the event. And then Spence, I want to get some closing thoughts from you on what some of the questions you have for the panelists will be as well. And we encourage, we're not going to do all the power moment at the end of this podcast episode. You have to come see us in person on Tuesday, May 3rd at 2 p.m. at the Madison Club in Madison, Wisconsin. Make sure you register beforehand via the CFC website or via our Eventbrite page. And we will tell you what we're going to do with all the power, and you can tell us too. So my questions of the panelists, how should electric vehicles pay for the use of roads? What role should the state and federal government play in helping facilitate electric vehicle charging infrastructure, if any? And are regulatory or statutory changes needed due to increased electric vehicle adoption? And like I said, we'll have a couple other questions thrown in there, and there will be an opportunity to get questions from the audience as well at the event. Spence, I know you're going to be probably the one submitting the most questions at this event. What can we expect from you? What questions do you have?
My questions are, what can utilities like mine do to help the state achieve its goals of, fleet vehicles, electric vehicles, and then what are we currently doing that you have seen, that the state has seen as beneficial, or the members of your panels have seen as beneficial? And then basically it's like, once the $78 million comes into the state, like how quickly can we actually transition? How quickly can we build out? So obviously we help our customers. We try to educate our customers on when to charge at the best times through time of use rates. But does the state or any other external stakeholders that are on your panel, what do they need from the utilities to work through over the next 2 decades? As more and more of these vehicles come out of the road. I mean, the majority of the charging still happens at home, but if you want to go from, the state line in Kenosha up to Bayfield, I mean, what's that going to look like? Like, are you going to be able to do that in an electric vehicle? And I think in the upcoming years, you will be able to do that because there will be more and more infrastructure across the state and across the country.
Spence, any closing thoughts before we go?
I'm looking forward to the event. There's been more and more discussion on this, and I feel like you brought in a pretty unique aspect for us to listen to. I mean, you have the chair of the Senate Committee on Utilities, you have a commissioner, and then you have a plethora of people on a panel that are all going to bring a different aspect to the discussion. So I'm looking forward to hearing what they're going to say, and it'll be nice to see everybody on Tuesday.
Great. And that's why, we wanted to call it a candid discussion on electric vehicles and electric vehicle policies, because we really want to hear from different sides and different perspectives, because I want to go into the next legislative session, the next legislative budget cycle, having everybody's cards out on the table and getting a sense of where the different stakeholders think we need to be going. All right, well, thank you everyone for listening. Like I said earlier, we're going to actually have 2 episodes in May, a recap episode from our electric vehicle event, and then we are going to start a discussion on small modular reactors, which are small nuclear reactors that some in the state are studying right now to see if they may be a way to help supplement our carbon-free baseload generation needs. So look out for 2 episodes in May, one in earlier May, one in later May. And again, appreciate everyone listening today and hope to see you at our event on May 3rd. And thank you, Spence, for joining as always.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a good talk, and I'm looking forward to seeing you and everybody else on Tuesday.
Thank you to all of our listeners for tuning in. Please support our work. You can subscribe to the Electric Wire podcast if you haven't already, and you can follow us on Twitter at The Electric Wire. Thanks also to the members of the Customers First Coalition for supporting this podcast. Our members are Dairyland Power Cooperative, Madison Gas and Electric, the Municipal Electric Utilities of Wisconsin, WPPI Energy, Renew Wisconsin, the Citizens Utility Board, the International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers Local 2150, and the Wisconsin Electric Cooperatives Association. Thanks again for listening. We'll have a new episode next month.